First off, can I say I've got to get a coat like you were wearing in that intro?
I'll have to send you one. All right, so we are here talking about what are we talking about? EV maintenance and repairs today with our very special guest who's here. Let me bring her in, Miss Ashley. Hello,
Ashley in
welcome.
the house.
How are you guys today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
It's been a busy morning. I know.
It's been wild.
Been busy for me. I just keep talking wherever I go. I just keep talking.
I know. I should say, yeah. Where you recorded extra videos this morning, right? Too.
We did, yes.
Yeah. So you recorded, and you got 2 live shows. You just hard work sitting around in the chair talking all day. That's got to be rough for you, right?
I never knew how hard it could be.
Yeah.
Ashley, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It's good and hot here, 85 degrees. It's like summertime. Good. I'm happy, ready to roll.
Oh my goodness.
That's
I have to come spend my winters down there, I think.
Yeah, it's like 42 here in California, so I don't know what's going on now. So we are talking today about EV cost of ownership, repairs, what happens when your EV breaks and you need to get it repaired. Where do you go? What happens? So I know we've had our own Justin talk about this before, that he cannot take his Ioniq 5 to his local Hyundai dealer because they're not certified to work on EVs. So what does he do? Does he have to have it trucked out 100 miles? What's the case there? Ray, do you have any questions about this? Thoughts about this?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't one of the great selling points about EVs is that they don't need a lot of maintenance? Primarily it's tires and brakes. And I guess, windshield wiper blades and things like that. But typically they don't require the same amount of maintenance as, say, an internal combustion engine vehicle. So, what would Justin even have to take his vehicle in for?
Well, I think so. Part of this, I think, is you're right. I mean, yeah, we have to deal with tires. I have regen braking, so I don't have brakes. But then there's, windshield wipers. But I think part of it comes down to, like everything, things break. The motor and the windshield wiper can break, right?
That's true.
I mean, all these, there are components here, and they really can break. So what happens when something does break? So Ashley, you've been in the dealership world for very, very long time, longer than you look like you've been alive, actually.
I'm not going to tell you how long, they're to age me.
but like, so if someone had a EV and wanted to bring it into your dealership where you work, and it was a windshield wiper motor, could you fix that, or would you have to pass that on to somebody else because it's an EV? What would that scenario be?
I think for the majority of it, you could fix most of it. You needed a special tool, but just basic repairs, yes. But if it was something that required a special tool, no, you'd have to pass it off to the EV dealer.
So if I hear you correctly, if a windshield wiper motor doesn't require a special tool, just about any mechanic could do that. Now, if it was under warranty, obviously you'd have to take it to the dealer to get the warranty work done. But things like windshield wiper motors, or I don't know, if a power door lock or the power window motor broke, I mean, that shouldn't require an EV dealer to repair that, should it?
No, I wouldn't think so. No.
So, that gets into a question for me because, everything on my Tesla is electric, obviously. Everything, like to open the door is a button you press and it electronically opens the door. So a little bit different things on there. So could I bring a Tesla to a Chevy dealer, Ashley? Like, could I do that, or do I have to go to Tesla? What if there's no Teslas in my area?
Yeah, you can bring it in. I mean, I've seen plenty of Chevy, Ford, multiple dealerships selling pre-owned Teslas. People have traded in. Yeah, I don't see why. I mean, definitely they could repair them. Anything that's just basic, repairs. Yes, a normal dealership could do that.
Okay. All right. So, because I know that that's a trepidation. A lot of people moving into the EV space is, I buy the vehicle, but what happens when there's a, mechanical breakdown? They still break down. There's still vehicles with machinery. Um, so you're saying that we can take it into you as long as it's not like battery related?
Yeah.
So it's not quite as bad as maybe many people think it is, or think it might be.
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as people think it is, but then again, I would just recommend calling your local dealer, say, hey, can you do this? Because some dealerships may not even want to fool with them, but some may not care. You're gonna get a mix up with that.
Yeah,
And
I could see some dealers just not wanting to
Yeah.
go there.
But if a dealer trades one, if you take one and trade, and let's say you want to keep it and sell it as a pre-owned car, don't most states have state inspection requirements? So would that dealer have to do some type of state inspection and maybe other safety inspections before they could put it on their lot? Would it? I mean, if they traded a Tesla, would they need to take it to a Tesla dealer to do safety inspection, or should that be able to be done anywhere?
I would think most dealers, if they traded one in, they would take it to the Tesla dealership to have it checked out before they put it on the lot to sell, just to do the multi-point check. But not like Georgia, we don't have a state inspection down in it's turned by counties down here where I'm at. But like if we traded Tesla in our local dealerships, we would have to take it to Jacksonville. Just checked out before we could put on the lot to be sold.
That's almost a pain in the butt. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
So-
what the dealer would want to do, they're like due diligence just to make sure there's no issues with this car that got traded in before they resold it.
So then I, as a buying customer though, so Ashley, you've done that. You've had it checked out by Tesla and you sell it to me at your dealership and I drive off. I have a problem. Now I'm expecting I can take it back to you, right? Then if there's a problem, because you literally are the one who sold me the vehicle, or would you refer me over to Tesla?
If let's say if it was my customer, I had sold it to Tesla too, I would take care of it, everything I could do internally in the dealership, until it got to the point where I'd have to send it to a Tesla store. Just basic repairs that the dealership can do. Yes, I would take care of that customer. I wouldn't send them, 2 hours down the road to have it repaired.
Yeah, and I've seen this comment a couple times now. I know GM says that they want to be one of the leading Tesla repair shops in the nation. So have you heard anything on your side of that?
I have not. Where I'm at, Tesla is not a very popular car here.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the rural area, so we don't see a lot of them around here.
Justice, I have a question for you. Since you bought a used Tesla and you bought it from a Toyota dealership,
Yep.
did they do any type of inspection on the vehicle before they sold it? Or did they take it to whatever local Tesla facility there might be? Because I would imagine there's more Tesla facilities, say, in California than there would be in a lot of other states.
Yeah, there was an inspection done on it. I had the inspection report that came through, but I don't know that they looked at the battery or anything. I don't think that was even put into there. I know the cheat code to get in there, and I looked at the battery before I did anything. But but there was an inspection done for me. I have 3 Tesla service centers in the Sacramento area, so like for me, I didn't think much about it, but I'm trying to think of people out in like Ashley's world where it's a different world than I'm in Northern California. I'm 2 hours away from where they build most of these, so I understand I'm in a different world. I'm trying to think of those rural areas. Like, what do you do if you go to Ashley and you buy a used Tesla from her and it needs repair, non-battery, but let's say it is battery, then do they have to? Are they towing it up to Tesla up in, what did you say, Jackson, Ashley?
Jacksonville. It'd be Jacksonville,
Jacksonville.
Florida.
Wow.
Yeah, it would be to have someone drive it or tow it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Another thing you had to touch on is recall. Like, it's got to go to the Tesla store if it's got a recall. That's not something another dealership can do.
Well, okay, so I'll speak to Tesla, and every single one of the recalls has been fixed with an over-the-air update.
Okay.
So they've never had an actual mechanical recall yet. I imagine someday they will have a mechanical recall because they're building machines that can break. But so far, they've all been over-the-air updates. I know Justin on his Ioniq 5 had a recall, but they don't do over-the-air updates, so he had to take it into his dealer to get done, and that was kind of a hassle. But
Are there independent shops that specialize in EVs? And if they are, I mean, I would have to think they would be in heavily populated areas and not necessarily in a rural area. But have you heard of anything like that?
I haven't. It seems like, out in Georgia, that might be a good thing. Like, because I'm surrounded by EV everything here, you just take it to wherever the manufacturer is. But it seems like a rural area. Do you know of anyone in your area, Ashley, that does? It seems like a good business to get into. Like, if you're the one mechanic in the area who's certified to work on EVs, that might be a.
If there is anyone, it would be in Savannah, which is an hour away. And I don't even know if anybody there that I can think of.
You know me, I have a lot of silly questions, and as Justice likes to remind me, my questions really aren't silly, but they seem silly to me. So Ford forced their dealers to agree to rules and regulations and investments in EV infrastructure if they wanted to sell EVs, and they could either be the completely certified and have to invest 1.2 million, or they could invest less and be limited to the amount of EVs that they would have access to during the course of a year. And I believe it was 2/3 of Ford dealers agreed to one form or another to become electric dealers. What if you have an electric Ford and you live in an area where your Ford dealer or dealers chose not to participate in that program? What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So the question it becomes, if you have not signed up to be an electric dealer, do your mechanics still get trained on how to repair? Because it seems like Ford still has a vested interest in making sure you can repair and not just sell. I get you may not have the charging infrastructure at your dealership, which I think is a lot of this money that they're asking, the dealers to put up. But it seems like your mechanics would still have to become certified in something. Ashley, you work at a GM dealership,
Yeah,
right?
and actually, Buick just recently did the same thing as Ford with the dealers signing on to be EV or not. They do take a lot of tests to be certified, but if you're not going to be a EV dealer, I would say no, they're not taking those tests.
Really? So
unless that service advisor or the service tech just wanted to do that, above and beyond work for their own self, but a dealership wouldn't be sending their techs to those training classes. since they're not an EV dealer.
And I would think, Ashley, correct me if I'm wrong, but if they chose not to be an EV dealer, they're certainly not going to invest in the special tools that Ford would require for those EV dealers. So even if the tech was capable, it might not have the tools in order to be able to do the job.
Yeah, that's right.
This is like a can of worms.
Yeah, it is. It's a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, so when you get into the specialty vehicles, I mean, I know we had one that said it was the, same thing in the 80s and 90s with the Corvette ZR1. The techs had to be certified, et cetera.
Mario, we have one tech that he's like 65. One tech that works for a Chevy store within 45 miles of me that's certified to do Corvettes.
Wow.
No, there is one in Savannah, but like not counting Savannah. There's only one in my area.
So then is that what we're looking at is in at least a short-term future for EVs, is that because say you are a Ford garage, and you're certified electric, that doesn't mean you know how to work on a Tesla, which have different battery components, different architecture, different charging ports, different everything. So is this going to be broken down into specialty dealers where you just can't take it to, hey, you sell electric vehicles, so I'm going to bring it to you? But is it going to become one of those, now you have a Tesla, you have to take it to someone who knows how to work on Teslas?
I think it's going to be a big problem in the future as these manufacturers push these EVs on people, but the infrastructure is just not there yet. The dealers and the mechanics, just the service techs, just it's not there. There's not enough people really certified to do all this. I think it's going to be a big problem in the future. Trying to serve, if there does become a problem with these vehicles, to get them repaired, finding the person or the facility that can do all the work. You'll be able to find it, it will be aggravating. You may have to go to two different places like this, get the EV part of it fixed. You may have to go further down the road versus, just go in wherever to get your windshield wiper blades changed or whatever you need,
So it sounds like it goes from less from your friendly neighborhood trusted mechanic that you can go to now, it depends on what's wrong, and I got to go over here for this, and I got to go over there for that. That would be a big mind shift, and I'm not sure that everybody is ready for that. I think people love their mechanics, right? Okay. I think they really do. Like either they go to the dealer because they think that's where it's going to be treated the best, or they go to their local mechanic because the dealer's going to rip them off, and this mechanic is great and he knows. But now are we talking about a world where it's you guys seem to like this word bifurcated, where we depends on what the problem is and where I take it.
I don't see how it wouldn't be. Because like if I had a Chevy Bolt or a Ford Lightning or a Mach-E or a Tesla Model 3, and they needed and all it needed was a brake job, well, I think any tech can do a brake job. I can't imagine there's anything special about the rotors and the brake pads that are used on a Tesla compared to what's used on a Chevy. So, but if it's something that has to do with the battery or the battery pack, or what are other issues that could crop up? I don't see that. You could be doing a lot of extra traveling to get stuff done.
Well, and we talk about battery, but there is an electric motor, and things can go wrong in the motor too. And I know from OEM to OEM that electric motor is one of the largest differences between EVs out there. If you're looking at a Hummer versus a Model X electric motor, those are very, very different designs, and those are done very differently. So I don't know that one could work on, even if you were a GM certified EV dealer, like bringing a used Tesla in there to look at the electric motor. I don't know that that's something that they could or would want to do.
It seems to me you're not certainly not taking your vehicle to Pep Boys for that.
No, well, and that's part of my quandary here too is what happens to your local mechanics if we, by 2035, all new cars are EV. Like, is this requiring huge investment from your local mechanic just to stay in business? Are they just going to end up, retiring once the last of the legacy ICE cars gets off the road? I mean, that's going to be like 100 years, but still, what's going to happen to the local mechanic? What's going to happen to your garage, Ashley? Because I know you guys don't just service the vehicles that you sell. I'm sure you get probably most of your business from vehicles you don't sell. So what happens to you guys in your garage? Because, as Ray points out a lot, the profit centers in the garage, right? And in the repairs, not as much in the sales. So what happens to you guys when everything's EV and you're not there?
It's going to be, it's going to probably do away with a lot of people that just don't have the money or don't want to make the investment to go into EV repairs.
Isn't and Justice, I'm leaning on you for this because you're the electric car guy here. But isn't one of the things about electric vehicles and you have the electric motors, there's a lot fewer moving parts involved in an electric motor as compared to a internal combustion engine vehicle. So wouldn't it, are the repair, is it less likely because it's an electric motor with fewer moving parts that something like that would break? And if it did break, that or it became non-working, that they would just rip out the old electric motor and dump in a new electric motor?
Yeah. Yes. The chance of a repair is much, much less because the electric motor is in a sealed system. It doesn't, it's not exposed to anything. It has a much, much less chance of breaking. There's far fewer moving parts on an EV than on a traditional ICE vehicle. That's for sure. And, if we're talking about cost of maintenance over the lifetime of a vehicle, or actually, let's see, Consumer Reports did over a 5-year span. An ICE vehicle is about 61 cents a mile for the first 5 years, and an EV is 31 cents a mile. So, there's just not much to have to fix on them, not a lot to maintain. Right now, the tires are more expensive. So, depending on what you drive, about the same as a Mercedes. So, but otherwise, the tires are a little bit more expensive if you're doing a lot of burnouts. What people love to do, the people love the torque in the EV, and if you're slamming it every single time and you're hitting those tires, you have to replace your tires more often. If you're driving like a normal human being, you won't. But yes, you're right, Ray. It's less likely to break down. I'm just and Kimberly had here's something here too. Whoop, where did she go? There we go. How much is an EV motor to cost? It's not quite that, but I will say the EV motors are guaranteed for a lot longer. I believe Tesla's is over 100,000. Their batteries are like 150. So that you got a good coverage on those.
How long has Tesla been around?
It's 20 years this year.
Okay.
From their founding. Now, remember, the first 5-6 years was that Roadster.
Okay. So over the last 20 years, they've had the opportunity to collect data on things that ultimately ended up breaking. So what are the most common items that break, and how often do they break? I mean, there must be some information about that. so
I
that
would
they
like to
have a
see that
better idea.
too, because I don't know either. I would love to read all that about what's been breaking on them. I
It's
don't know.
it's mainly the tires. I mean, on a Tesla in particular, you don't really get much brakes because you don't use the brake much. Um, but so it's mainly tires. Batteries are, I think they're averaging about 200,000 miles. So, there's a couple million-mile Teslas out there that have had to do a couple of those. I know Tesla is indeed saying that it's 1 million miles on the Model 3 electric engine now, the motor itself. So, not much brakes. It just depends on how you're driving it and how much. Obviously, if you're doing 1 million-mile vehicle like the Model S did, they had 2 battery replacements in that amount of time. One at, I think it was 215,000 and one at 600,000 miles. And then they had 4 engine replacements. And keeping in mind, this was I think it was the first or the second generation Model S. So this was way, way, way back when. And they've just gotten better with their engine components then. And that's, Elon has addressed the 4 motor changes in that vehicle and say, where the new motors just won't be like that. But yeah, I mean, we've had this come up a couple times here in the chat too. 12-volt battery.
Yeah, but that's nothing.
Well, it's nothing if you know how to do it. But you cannot just go like an ICE vehicle and unhook your 12-volt battery and replace it. You have to disconnect from the main battery. So there are things you have to do. So, and that's not something, and I do see that on YouTube every once in a while of people who think you can just go, because in the Tesla, it's under the back seat. You just pull it up and they think you can just disconnect it, put a new 12-volt in and reconnect it like you do in your ICE car. And you absolutely cannot do that. There's steps you have to take.
So would it be reasonable to say that the body of a Tesla vehicle could wear out sooner than the internal mechanics of the Tesla vehicle that allow it to perform the way it performs? I mean, because it seems to me from what you're saying, there ain't a whole lot that can go wrong. And that if you live in a northern state where there's a lot of snow and ice and salt, that body rot might actually be more of a deterrent, or more of an issue, not a deterrent, but more of an issue for the car than any of the mechanical issues that one normally associates with an ICE vehicle.
Yes and no. I mean, yes. For mechanically breaking down, yes. I think if you're in those climates that have salt on the roads and a lot of snow and you're dealing with that, you have currently, if you don't have the LFP battery or a heat pump, you definitely have battery and range issues.
Yeah, but aside from that,
to do with that, well, so and I put that in there because if you have those range kind of issues, you're probably going to go to a supercharger a lot more, and you're probably going to be supercharging the hell out of your battery all the time, and that would degrade your battery a lot faster. So therefore, in that respect, it can come to a maintenance issue because you don't want to be doing, supercharging of your battery all the time. That will really degrade it a lot faster. But you're right. I mean, mechanically speaking, the body's probably going to wear out. You're going to go through an awful lot of tires before you have to make a repair to much of anything.
I've got one other question that I want to ask. It's almost like I've turned into the host, and I don't know how, but all these things keep popping into my mind. Are there specialized body shops to be able to repair Tesla vehicles, or I mean, Tesla's the most popular,
yeah.
and there's more of those on the road than any other. But would I mean, when Model E's and Lightnings and Hummers and Silverados and all the electric vehicles that are coming down the highway. Is it going to require specialized body shops for these vehicles if and when they are involved in an automobile accident?
Let me get your take on that first, Ashley, and before I answer, what do you
As of
think?
right now, I'd say no. Body shops are working on everything, so no, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, because the body's still made of the same stuff, until Cybertruck comes out, it's still made from the same stuff as every other vehicle, right? So I would think that body shops would be relatively the same. I know here in California, we have a lot of specialty shops that deal in Tesla in, paint protection films and adding spoilers and all these things to your car. So like I would personally, if I was going to have something done, I would probably take it to them because they know these cars really, really, really well. But I would think like like if you had a bumper to bumper accident, you could just take it to almost any body shop. Well, I guess the sensors come into play there.
Well, what if the battery, the major electric battery, is impacted in the crash or in an accident? Is because
Then run.
Battery packs are so expensive, does that mean they normally just get totaled?
Yes.
I would think
So that is a real thing that's happening in the EV world. A lot of insurance companies are already sending up the alarms that these are so expensive to fix that what would be a moderate accident in an ICE vehicle becomes a totaled vehicle in an EV because of how many sensors and cameras and batteries and everything in there. So when they get damaged, the cost is more than the vehicle just to make the repairs. Part of that comes down to the manufacturing. Tesla's manufacturing, as Toyota calls it, is a work of art. They've removed 220 parts just to the frame of the vehicle, removed 40 pounds of parts on that just to the frame. So it's manufactured so well. Unfortunately, what that means is if part of the frame gets bent, right now it's in two pieces. Soon it'll be one piece, and there goes the whole vehicle. Right? You're not talking about all these other pieces that are put onto it. So the manufacturing process gets so cheap, and the vehicles get so cheap, but then the maintenance or the repair cost is so high that they end up just totaling the vehicle.
Do Teslas cost more to insure?
I think that depends on where you are. For me, I got Tesla insurance again, and it cost me $10 more than the Kia. So, did it cost me more? Yeah, it was $10 a month. Whatever.
No, I get it.
It's $120 a year, but that was compared to a hybrid Kia versus a Tesla. But I did go through Tesla because everyone else was a minimum of double that price.
Okay.
Did you say $120 a year?
Yeah,
That's
more.
cheap.
Extra,
More.
extra.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so but literally my insurance company was almost 2.5 times more expensive than the Tesla insurance is.
So who was your insurance company prior to switching to Tesla's insurance?
It was Progressive for the last for however many decades it was. Great company, and I never had any problem with them. But when I got the quote to the Tesla, it was insanely high. I'm like, you're charging almost every month what Tesla wants to charge me in a year. Why would I want to do that? And I know in other states like Texas, they will actually discount your rate for using the safety sense and the Tesla and monitoring your driving. Not legal in California, so I can't get a discount there. But
can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
How can Tesla afford to offer rates that are so much lower than every other insurance company out there?
I can only guess as to this because I haven't dug into it, but my guess is that they don't, Teslas don't get into accidents an awful lot. I know it's lower than the average for whatever reason, probably because you're buying an expensive car and you want to take care of it. But I think that's part of it. Plus, then a lot of it is outside of California and Texas, Arizona, and I know there's one other state they're in at least, that they can use your driver safety rating, which measures everything. I mean, I'll show that someday if everyone wants me to pull that up, my driver safety rating, and you can look at everything it looks at. And that helps with their rates. Anyone who has full self-driving has to have the driver safety in there, and you have to meet a minimum score to be able to get the full self-driving in there. So I think they offer it lower because it's data for Tesla owners. It's not general drivers. It's what do Tesla owners drive like? How is that? And we can monitor how you're driving.
So
and
they
I
know
think
more about you.
Yeah, and I think that's why other places like Progressive and Geico and everyone else are so much higher, is they're just taking the average, and then they're also looking at, like any other insurance company, hey, if you do get in an accident, we're screwed. So, we're going to have to total your vehicle if you're in a 30 mile an hour fender bender. So, I think they look at that and they raise it, and Tesla says, but we can repair it because we're going to be the ones to repair it.
Okay.
And I think that may have something into their, into the ecosystem, whether you like ecosystems or don't like ecosystems. I think that may have play into their insurance as well.
Interesting. You know what? I'm fresh out of questions. What do you got for us, Ashley?
I was just going to mention too, another thing is the cost of it. They're pretty expensive, so it probably takes out a lot of the, the younger kids, that would drive up the insurance rates, to be higher. So
that's actually a good point. You're probably not getting a lot of 16 to 18-year-olds driving Teslas. I mean, some here, but we won't get into that.
So are you saying it's primarily just older people that buy Teslas? Do we know what their demographics are?
That's I was going to look into that and I didn't yet. I will look into that because I think we need to discuss that, because I know Kimberly brought up their marketing not to women very much.
Mm-hmm.
And since then I've sort of been paying attention, and I will say at least half the people I see are actually women driving them. But I would be very curious to see their demographic. I'll look into see who their driver is, but I bet yes, they're probably over 25-year-olds at least. Whether they're male or female, I don't know. I'm sure they're older because of the cost of the vehicle, and you still got to build up to that in your life.
But I would think as they hope to become more mainstream moving forward, that it's just going to be one or two say it's a 2 Tesla family, okay, and it's a husband and wife, and they have 2 teenage children that are of driving age. I mean, I would think the direction they hope for this all to go, to become a mainstream vehicle in every family. It's like a chicken in every pot. It's a Tesla in every driveway. So at a certain point, the drivers of these vehicles are going to end up starting to skew a little younger, I would think.
I think that too, but I will say that there are some controls that Tesla puts in place. Like, so each person has their own key.
Yes.
Right. And that key's connected to your driver profile. And if I am the owner of the vehicle and I have a teenage child, I can set a lot of restrictions on that, including how fast they can accelerate, how fast they can go, period. Even times that you can drive, et cetera, et cetera.
What a bummer to have a parent with a Tesla if you have to drive that car.
So I mean, I certainly there's things you can do to help mitigate that, but you can also look at that at your teenage driver's safety score, and and work on that with them. So I don't know. We've had a few comments because I said Kimberly talked about Tesla marketing to men primarily. Excuse me, Kimberly did not say that. She said EVs in
Yes.
general are marketed towards men in generally. She did not mention Tesla. That was me. That was me just overgeneralizing in what she said. Yes, Tesla does not market. Period. They don't. They just don't. But we're talking about EVs in general. The target right now is over 35-year-old men primarily. But that will have to change, as you said, in the future. The hand-me-down vehicles, all that. But there needs to be, like I said on the Kimberly show, there needs to be a wider range of SUVs. I think that's what women tend to want right now, are SUVs, and we don't have very many SUV EVs for probably obvious reasons.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to drive that size car day to day with children. I mean, myself, I prefer a large SUV for that.
Yeah. And there's some out there, but even the Rivian R1S isn't that big.
Well,
all right.
will Rivian even be around in the future? That could be the title for another show.
Yeah. We're definitely gonna jump in on I think Tuesday, or when we. I haven't even talked to you, Ray. We're gonna have to move the show. So I'm not. Yeah, we'll talk about it offline.
Okay, great.
But yeah, so definitely a show we're going to talk about on Lucid and Rivian struggling, and Ford doing a stop sale on the F-150 Lightning, and I read, it was a great article in Automotive News today talking about where's the Automotive News? It might have been Jalopnik, talking about that in the EV space, the legacy automaker is Tesla.
Well, it is, yeah, right now.
Yeah, they are the legacy automaker, and everyone else is trying to catch up and get into that space, but they have such a lead and an advantage there, and I don't think of them as a legacy OEM, but as we go more and more electric, they are the legacy OEM, and they're sort of the one that everyone pushes or compares himself to. I know Mari Barra and all of her proclamations, we're going to beat Tesla by, I think that date is actually passed now, but
I think GM might give him a run for the money in the future, because they have some good products coming out, or hopefully they'll be good.
The Ultium platform is amazing. GM is great with that, and I agree. I think if Ford gets their act together, I think GM, Ford, I think they can all really give Tesla a run for their money if they, like Toyota, are willing to learn. Yeah. I think that's the real case. Is a lot of times you get more ego in there than anything else, and they're like, oh, we're going to do it our way, and we're going to, it's like, well, look, these guys know what they're doing. They are the legacy for a reason, and if you take the best parts of them and improve on those, and do better on all the worst parts, I think GM could offer some really great value there. I don't know about the mini electric though, Ray. That one is that has not caught my eye as much.
It according to some survey, it's the most fun to drive electric vehicle out there. I just saw that in a news article today, that the mini electric was rated the most fun to drive electric vehicle. So there you have it.
Article written by BMW.
It might have been. I'm not sure.
I have not driven it, so I can't say anything. I don't know.
Yeah, I hadn't
But,
driven it.
it's all right. Final thoughts for the day, Ray?
I don't know. My head's exploding. I just keep coming up with more and more questions, and I don't and I haven't come up with more and more time. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to what the original legacy manufacturers come up with, to see how, if and when and how they really can compete with Tesla.
Yeah. Ashley, any final thoughts?
I've learned a lot today, actually, because I'm not a big fan of the Tesla. I mean, I like them, but I don't like them. So I've actually learned a lot today. And I need to make myself get more educated about them, really, because they're not going away. So it's something y'all need to, just learn about and see if it's something that'll fit in our lifestyle. And I definitely need to get some more data and see, all the stuff we talked about. But it's interesting.
Well, anytime you want to fly out to California, I'll give you a tour around. You can drive the Tesla.
I need to. I've never drove one.
Oh, well, I mean, you drove in one.
Yeah,
in DC.
That's a whole nother story.
We'll have to have Phil back on to tell that story.
Oh,
I'd love
buddy.
to tell that story. But yeah, I mean, to that point, to the point of Phil's story of if you've never driven Tesla,
I have never felt so dumb in my entire life that day.
If someone asks you, hey, do you need me to explain it to you? Don't say no. Say yes. Please explain it to me. Don't think you're going to go just figure it all out on your own without at least a YouTube video or something. Because there's no push button, there's no key, there's no you got to put things in the right place to get these things started.
Yep.
But that was a fun story. But yeah, it's I'm with you, Ray. I'm really anxious to see what all the legacy automakers are going to do here, particularly Toyota. I think now that their new CEO's coming over, and he's already said Lexus was going to be all electric, and now he's coming over to Toyota, and we know he likes electric, and they're tearing down the Model Y, and they're like, holy crap, this is amazing. Never ever count out Toyota. They are willing to learn from anybody and pivot on a dime. So I'm anxious to see that. I love competition. I know Elon Musk loves competition. All these people coming out is just going to improve the experience more and more, and maybe improve it in ways that maybe people want a push button to start their car. Maybe they all have to figure that out. Maybe just sitting in the seat with your phone isn't enough for people. I know, you never know. But yeah, I mean, definitely go out there, test drive. Go out to if you have a Tesla center near you, especially, go have a test drive. They're fun little vehicles. I will make a commitment by the end of the month to go test drive the Mini and see if it's the most fun EV I've ever driven.
It is for some. That's all I know.
I will take. I've driven a lot of EVs. I love to go out there and experiment with them and look and see what I like and don't like about each one of them. So that'll be interesting. Is it as small as a normal Mini? I've only been a Mini when they first came.
It's a Mini hardtop. It just happens to be electric.
Yeah, okay. They were really small when I got into it.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Ashley, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I don't know how much help I was. Thanks for having me.
No, you were lots of help. You were lots of information. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, everyone. We will see you back here on Friday with Justin, where we get to be plugged back in for all the news you can use. And then Ray, I will see you after the broadcast to talk about moving the show.
Hey, I won't go anywhere.
Which I feel like you should be in on. Bye, everybody.